let's just pray really quickly, and then we can go from there, and then we can get started, and he can introduce himself. Jesus, we thank you. We thank you that not even that just that we're here, but that we can just learn, that we can grow. And I just ask that you would open every single person's heart and mind. Help us understand and help us learn just your character, who you are, how you created us. We love you, we honor you, and we ask you to be glorified and blessed. In Jesus' name, amen, amen, amen. All right, guys. So some of you probably heard, I'm actually really, really excited about today. I have the great honor and privilege of having someone that I deeply respect and honor. I actually, for those of you who do not know, I don't just work here at Trey. I am part-time, but I also have a full-time job, and that is at a company called Real Property Management. Pretty nice company, if you ask me. But this man right here, I will let him, again, introduce himself here in a minute, is, should I say is, was, or?
What do you mean is?
It was like this.
I see I see on your introduction. Well, I still am Josh.
Yes, go for it. Okay, Josh. His name is Josh, but go ahead, introduce yourself, full name, who you are, father. Just give us, just where are you right now in your stage of life?
Oh, man. I feel like you oversold this already. Yeah, so my name is Josh Kattenberg. 46, married just 22 years, got 4 kids. Owner of Real Property Management, started that about 16 years ago. Stage of life, what he's referring to was or is in February, I stepped away for what I thought was going to be a short sabbatical and turned the reins of the company over to my business partner. And since then, I haven't come back from sabbatical. So that's been a whole new experience for me. Yeah. So that's what he's teasing me about.
Yeah. I was going to say, with the whole entire purpose of tonight, for those of you who do not know, but we're doing Tell Me Your Story. And what this is just a very open conversation about your life, about your past, things you've dealt with, things you've learned. And I was going to say, all of us, I would say, are in a way younger stage of life than you are. But I would...
Easy there.
Okay, yes. But you would definitely have a lot more life experience, I would say. So the whole point is for him to share mistakes, share personal things, share struggles, get vulnerable, and that's kind of the whole entire thing. But just to kind of start off from the very beginning, I kind of just want us to kind of have a very clear perspective of who you are, how were you raised? I know, like, family-wise, like parents, like big family, small family. That way we kind of just understand a little bit of a picture of who Josh is as a person, and just kind of go into a little bit of like your childhood and like growing up and what atmosphere you kind of grew up in.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in Hall, Iowa, just 50 miles southeast of here. Also had a family of 4. My dad was a truck driver, so he was gone almost all the time. And this is something I didn't realize until actually this year on sabbatical, as I was diving kind of deeper into my life, realizing that even though my parents were married, I didn't really have a dad, which is kind of weird. He wasn't there physically, he wasn't there emotionally. So that was kind of surprising to me, and I didn't realize the effect that was having. I grew up in what was called the Netherlands Reformed Church, which was super conservative. Like, maybe if you guys are familiar with hyper-Calvinism, election was a big thing. Hope wasn't a thing. Grace was It was all about election. If you were chosen, you were chosen. If not, sorry, so sad, too bad. Went to a Christian school for the first 4 years, and then my parents pulled us out. I was bullied in school. There's a pretty significant situation there where the kids that were bullying me held another kid down, kicked him in the groin so hard he had to have surgery. And then I was going to the Sunday school, and I was getting picked on there too. So finally my parents pulled me out and homeschooled all 4 of us. So I was homeschooled from 4th grade all the way through high school. My mom wasn't a teacher, so I pretty much in high school taught myself. Algebra all the way up. My last year I spent a lot of time in the law library just learning and educating myself is really what I did the last few years.
I was going to say, so you growing up in that type of atmosphere, you have a father who is not really present. And how many siblings do you have?
3. So I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest. How many boys, or like how many?
Two brothers and a sister.
Okay, and you're the oldest, so you have the kind of the weight of the oldest child upon you, and then without having a father figure. When you were kind of growing up in college, would you say you've kind of just took the route of like you mentioned like a lot of teaching yourself with law? Were you kind of just the person who just dove straight deep into that?
Yeah, 100%. So I realized, even looking back now, how much I just figured out by myself. It was always all the projects. Like I took a 1968 VW Bug, you know what that is, a Beetle, and broke it down, rebuilt it. I never got the thing running, but I totally rebuilt the engine just from a book. Remember, this is before the internet, right? Or the internet was just coming out, so dial up, you know, that whole thing. And when you're on the phone, you can't actually, or when you're on the computer, you can't be on the phone. So those are the days I remember, right? So I'm seeing that whole thing happen. And yeah, I started a business at 18, construction, with my brother. So we built houses, hog houses, machine sheds. And then at about 23-ish, I was a deacon in a small church, and they realized I was really good at teaching Sunday school, and they said, hey, you should be a teacher. And I thought, hey, what a great idea. And so I sold my business to my brother and went to college at 23 to be a teacher. Met my wife, and we moved to Michigan, finished my education there, and then I was going to be a doctor, or I was going to go for a doctorate in college. I was an ancient studies major, so it was Hebrew, Latin, Coptic, archaeology, philosophy, theology, history. And so I wanted to get a doctorate in that, but that's 2008 time frame, so the economy's doing crashing. So it didn't seem smart to go into debt to get a doctorate in archaeology. That sounded like a really bad decision. So I got a master's in teaching in high school ed, and then became a teacher for a few years.
So you became a teacher. You're how many years married at this point?
About three.
About three years married, and you're living in Michigan. What was life like? Because were you teaching like elementary, or like what was the age range?
Yeah, it was secondary ed.
Secondary ed.
History.
History.
Yeah.
See, this is something I actually never knew. This is actually kind of funny. Okay, so that stopped. How long did that last for?
A couple, maybe 2-3 years. I became the principal of a small school. I was also an EMT at that time, so I became an EMT at 17, 18, somewhere in there. And so I was teaching and I was an EMT at the same time, volunteering.
Okay. I want to just from because you're talking about like a lot of little things that you have going on, and like I feel like that's so much to like even like hearing from our perspective, like that's a lot to balance. Let's be honest, like teaching a second grade, being married, moving to a new city, being an EMT. How did you balance all of that? And I know that's crazy to even like a very difficult question to even articulate or to say, but because you were around 23, 24 at that age. Yeah, how do you handle that? Because that's like our age range.
I would say I didn't. So what do I mean by that? We were so broke that we were eating out of the food pantry. So I don't know why we thought this, but we had our first kid. I'm in college yet because I went late. My wife's teaching. We've got our first son, and we thought she had to stay home. So, like, okay, where's the money coming from, guys? Right? We're just like young, dumb kids. And so she stays home with him, and we've got no income coming in, right? And just living on savings. So we were eating out of the food pantry at that time. That's the little apartment food pantry. Trying to finish college. And then in terms of balancing, I don't think I did. So it was like work or we're not going to eat. That's what it came down to. So I was like, I didn't feel guilty about it. I'm like, okay, guys, I got to go to work because otherwise we're not paying the bills. And so it just was what it was. And then when I started the business in 2010, there too, like as an entrepreneur, it's like you just do anything and everything that has to be done to get it done. It just doesn't matter. and then I would come home and do EMT at night. And today, I've learned, 20 some years later, I'm going to say the bitterness and the resentment that my wife had against me for doing that. I didn't realize it at the time, just to be honest, because I wasn't balancing things. It was like, you got the kids, I got the business, rock and roll, we're good.
Oof.
Standard procedure, is that what it is? Well, and think about it. I didn't realize that at the time, but that's what my dad did, right? He's gone 7-8 days out of the week. He comes home, he's super tired, he drops into bed, goes to sleep. 2 days later, he's gone again. And I thought that was normal.
When did you figure out that that was not okay?
I don't know, a year ago? It's been recent.
That's so honest. I love it.
Yeah, year and a half, maybe.
When you say the only thing that was on your mind was, I have to work, I have to provide, or else if I don't eat. Did you, when you're faced with that decision, do you even allow yourself to think, all right, I have no choice, because if I don't make this choice, everyone else around me doesn't eat? Like, what goes through your mind when you're making those type of decisions? Like, do you think of the repercussions, or is it kind of just like spray and pray, or like, you know what I mean? Like, we gotta just, what's the saying? Like, apologize later.
Ask for forgiveness.
Ask for forgiveness.
Yeah, there's multiple answers to that. So I think it's important to look at the timeline. So as I'm coming through, right, we're completely broke. Like I couldn't even get in the business by myself. I had to get my brother to come in with half, and then I borrowed additional money from my house, and then borrowed additional money from the franchise, right? So it wasn't a very expensive franchise. So it was like, and we had like 10 months to make it go, or we're starting over, essentially. So you got that, where it's like, do anything and everything you can. So we start the business. It takes us 1 month to get our first contract. We're painting the house. We're getting bats out of attics. We're plumbing toilets, doing whatever we can just to bring in some cash, right, day one. So that's what that first piece looks like. Then I think as I go along, right, you get a couple more kids come in. And I don't think I ever updated my software program, right? It's like, this is what I did 20 or whatever, 16 years ago. This is what I'm going to continue to do, even if I didn't have to, because that's just what I knew. And I didn't know any different if I think about how I was raised. It was like, this is what we do. Add to that, I'll add another one to you. I don't know how you guys are on this, is in the terms of work is worship, or the idea that, Christ says he claims everything. So everything we do to the glory of God. And I also took that even maybe to the extreme of saying, I'm working as a vocation, right? Vocation is Latin is vaco, to call. So it's our calling. So if I'm in my calling, then I'm doing it to God's glory, except for if that's all I'm doing. Yeah. So I even had a spiritual bent on it.
Okay. So then it's like, it's easy to justify.
100%. Yeah.
Okay. So it's 2010. You started Real Property Management. You moved back from Michigan, correct? So you're living in Sioux Falls. How many kids do you have at this point?
We had 2 when we started the business, and then we took a break, and then we had 2 more. So I got like 19, 17, and then 8 and 11.
So your brain at this point is just go.
Mm-hmm.
Just go, learn, do. And all you're thinking about is just expanding. I don't want to overlook this, but like, I know you mentioned a little bit about how you were like taught in the school or at the church, like, hey, you should be a teacher, you should be a deacon. And I don't want to pass that by completely, because I want to kind of touch on that. Like, how was your experience being a deacon at such a young age? How was it dealing in ministry, being in ministry, and being involved? Because, like, I'm just saying, like, even being involved in a church, and again, I'm not trying to like bash on someone's like beliefs, but I feel like even and growing up in that type of background, it's just like it can be difficult, just like even showing up sometimes. So I would love to hear, how was it being a deacon, teaching people? Because we kind of like jumped ship a little bit. I want to kind of hear a little bit of your experience in that.
Yeah, so I grew up Christian, but I don't think I know I didn't have a personal faith in Christ. That happened when I was 19. And then immediately, it was a small church, so probably about 21, I was elected to a deacon, and then was doing youth group stuff, teaching Sunday school, led a youth camp. It was great because I was single, and there was times when I hit burnout stage because it was like so much. There's also the aspect of when you're dealing with spirituality, I think it's almost like you can feel, felt a lot of judgment from people. Like it's really hard to be honest and authentic. At least that's how I felt, because now I'm a Christian. I got to be, whatever this expectation is. I think did I share with you the youth camp story? Did I? So that was a turning point. So we, if I want to go into this one already. So I was invited to help lead our youth camp, and the youth camp is actually where I came to faith, and so I was super passionate about it, super passionate about the young people, and I'm young, I'm dumb, I don't have leadership capability. I'm just out there running and gunning, and me and another young leader thought it would be a good idea to. Well, let me back up. The speakers would all have a questionnaire they would give to the campers on their topic to learn about them, so then they would know, how do I tailor my talk to the campers? And so we thought, hey, it would be a great idea to put in a questionnaire about sexuality. And we didn't ask permission, we just did it. So there was a whole ask for forgiveness. Well, the campers were great because they're like, hey, nobody's ever addressed this with us. We're actually talking about it. So they loved it, but I got just ripped by the lead pastor in the leadership team. Just cut me down because of what I had done. And so I think I was depressed for like a whole week after that. Like it just destroyed me. Today I would realize, hey, that wasn't the best on his part, and for me, I made the mistake of just putting this thing in there without getting permission and approval, So anyway, I learned from that. Had to bring people along versus just go out and do my own thing.
How long were you a deacon for, or like in the church?
Probably 3 years, 4 years.
Okay, and then you come back to Sioux Falls, start real property management. What was your reasoning to start everything? Like why business? Because I feel like knowing you too, like I say this a lot about you, like your brain is like a supercomputer, and why I say that is because you're really good at articulating things really, really quickly and fast. So it's like, why not pursue teaching? Why go into business?
Yeah, there's a couple reasons. I wasn't fair to the kids as a teacher. I was way too fast, expected way too much of them. I wasn't nearly nurturing enough. So that was the negative side. The positive side was I always looked at business as money is the root of all evil. And so I thought service was where it was at. And so that's really why I even became a teacher. That's why the EMT, that's why the deacon, that's why all the service stuff. Then the economy's collapsing, 2008, 9, and 10. And I'm watching AIG collapse and Lehman Brothers collapse. And I'm like, maybe I should learn a little bit about this business stuff. And so I picked up a college textbook, started reading about small business, and just was captivated. And what I realized was that business does an incredible amount of good for people. So the first thing is just, if you exchange a good or a service for money, that's a good in and of itself. Like, you just look around, like everything we have in this room has been produced by a business somewhere. Second thing is, businesses are the structure that we give people jobs. And so they get to plug their talent into this business, and then it unleashes this beautiful thing into the world. And then finally, if there's extra, we can give it away. But I put it in that order. And so once I understood that, then business was a way that I could see as a calling to go out and do that. And so then I was interested in the stock market. I was doing options, different calls, puts, condors, butterfly spreads, all that kind of goofy stuff. That was back in 2010 already, 2009. Long before Robinhood came out. So I was interested in business and the stock market, but so real estate was just another asset class. And so property management was a way to get into an asset class from the backside. So that's really where that came about. But then I knew that 9 out of 10 businesses fail in their first 5 years. And so franchises are kind of the reverse. So we went to a franchise expo and looked at different opportunities, and that's when I found real property management.
Yeah, for those of you who do not know, We're actually the #1 biggest real property management. I'm just gonna put that out there, shameless plug. um, why would you say, so like now, even with the whole entire business, knowing, I remember one time me and you talked actually, and this was I want to say like last summer, and you said something to me one time, and it actually stuck with me. You made the comment, he's like, you know what, I love generosity. I love giving people, like, I understand the aspect of generosity. But you know what? You give someone $10,000, they're always going to expect you to give out $10,000. But you give someone a job and they get a recurring salary, that is so much more impactful. So it's like, I remember you made that comment one time of like, true generosity isn't just the fact that you can give someone money one time. True generosity is giving someone an opportunity to plug their talents into something and allow that to flourish and give them something. And being in a position where you have that, where you have people under you, like right now the company, we're sitting at like 150 employees. What is the pressure like? You started a business. You have so much things coming after you. You have a marriage that you feel like there's so much resentment coming in from your wife. You are repeating the same effects that your father repeated in your younger years, but now your mind is focusing on business. What is happening in your heart? Like, what's the pressure? How are you dealing with all this? Like, you have employees, you have wages that you're paying, like you have so much happening. Talk to us about the pressure of all of that.
Yeah, so there's a saying that says what the reward for good work is more work. So I would actually get really bent or wrapped around the axle. Like if I get a negative Google review, it'd be like, oh man, you're saying my baby's ugly, or like if somebody talks bad about my business, I'm just like, ugh, I'm taking it personally. I have a bad day. And so what I would do then is I would get back to work because I knew I could fix that negative Google review, right? Call the customer, say, how can we fix this for you, da-da-da-da. Well, what happens when I do that is they love me. So what happens then? You get more work, which then you get more complaints, which then you have to solve. And you solve them, you get more work. And so pretty soon it just keeps going and going and going, and before you know it, it gets almost out of control, right? So what I've realized even this past year of how much my identity had become performance-based, like people-pleasing, or I'm okay if everybody's happy with me. I'm okay if I'm performing. I'm okay if I'm producing value. Which I've started learning now in the last year of, no, I need to tweak that to say, or maybe not tweak me, to completely overturn it and say, my identity is child of God, redeemed foundationally, but then it comes from my values and my character versus the outcomes that I'm producing. So I know that's subtle, but if I'm operating out of doing the right thing, which, okay, you would think obvious, but allowing the outcomes to take care of themselves, versus there's a lot of peace in that, I guess is what I'm experiencing, versus if I'm performing and I'm never at peace until I've nailed that performance, versus do the work 'cause it's the right thing to do, and then whatever happens, letting that be. But yeah, that's a new thing for me.
I don't wanna jump the gun too much because I know that there's so much we can unpack. But I want you to kind of hit a little bit of a fast forward for us a little bit, because you keep mentioning this past year, and you made that reference a few times. And for those of you who do not know, like this past year, I want you to kind of like, can you just explain what the last 16 years were like for you in this business and why this last year is such a pivotal thing in your life right now?
I mean, you've kind of heard some of it, right? The last 16 years or 15 years have been go, 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 just whatever it takes, right? And we were very successful, if you want to, look at it that way. The last year, what did I tell you? I spent probably in the last 10 months, 300 hours in coaching. I've read over 30 books in the, what do I call it? Emotional intelligence space. Like, I was an emotional retard. Sorry, don't mean to offend anybody, but my emotional intelligence was almost zero in terms of understanding that I had emotions. I didn't even think I had emotions, much less needs. Like I was so cut off from that. Or I thought emotions were annoying and irritating. It's like, get that stuff out of here. I don't want to deal with it because it's not logic. It's not dollars and cents. It's not how do we get property put together. So if it's not that, then I don't need this mushy stuff.
And so okay, this is what excites me, because this is like the route I really want to take, because I feel like, honestly, and we even talked a lot about this, and I feel like we were never actually taught emotional intelligence, because growing up our whole entire lives, what is it that I told you is like happy, sad, angry,
2 emotions.
happy, sad. I'm happy, I'm sad. We weren't taught what to do with emotions. We weren't taught how to identify emotions. We weren't taught anything to do with that, because like what you said, and automatically when we think about emotion, and for us guys, oh, that's very feminine. You know, like what you just said, like touchy-feely, or like, you know what I mean? It's very mushy. And the funny thing is, it's like another thing that you said is super real. It's just like there's zero logic behind it. So it's just like us as young adults, we're younger. And I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but like I'm just gonna speak for myself. I wasn't taught emotional intelligence. I mean, I'm a young kid growing up with immigrant parents. I don't go to high school, and I start the trades at a very young age. So I'm just around a whole bunch of old, angry white men who don't know how to deal with their emotions. And what do I see? I see a whole bunch of angry dudes just like complain. So I'm like, oh, this is what it's all about. Like and you're like, oh, get over it, kid, you know? And it's just like, all right, well, I guess I just have to get over it. So I want to hear, when you took that sabbatical, you took that, what were you faced with? Because I know you also mentioned too, like a lot of performance, like you realized that you had to do to be something or be someone. You always had to prove people, and also like that is, especially in our age group, is like this is such a huge problem where it's just like I have to be liked. I need people to see me. I need people to understand me. I want people to see something in me. I want people to value me, and that's why we have this performance base. And then that's actually what we do with the Lord too. We have a lot of people who are like, hey, God, look at me. Look how much hours I put in. I'm on the worship team, or I sing, or I preach, or X, Y, and Z. You know, it's just like it is, that creeps into every single part of our lives. But I want us to hear the reality that you faced once you took a step back, because, again, I want to share, and I want you to share mistakes, because I'm just saying, like, if you're going go for the last 20-something years of your life, you don't have enough time to stop and actually see. So what were you faced with?
Yeah. Thanks for the huge question.
Well, it's just one I'm anticipating, you know?
All right. Well, there's so many ways I can go with this, but think about, so one of the things I've realized with emotional intelligence is that it's also emotional immaturity. So I think what happened in my case, and maybe other people's cases, that I got stuck at age 11, say, emotionally. So I'm in an adult body, an adult responsibilities, but I'm here stuck at age 11. So if you think about, take bullying, for example. I'm getting the snot kicked out of me as an 11-year-old. What do I do as I become an adult? Oh, sorry, what did I do then? So how I defended myself was, well, I called it gray rock. I actually had a word for it. Go completely silent, completely non-emotional, completely like a possum. Like you will never get a rise out of me. Zero, no reaction, nothing. I am completely stone dead cold. And what happened? It worked. They left me alone. It's no fun teasing somebody or picking on somebody that you get no reaction out of. Okay? So I now have an adaptive mechanism that kept me safe. Now fast forward that into adult life. What happens when my wife comes at me or a cranky customer comes at me or whatever? I just shut down, go cold. Well, if I do that with relationships, how can you get close to me? How can you connect with me? I didn't realize that connection came through conflict. No concept of that. So imagine in my relationships, right, if somebody's angry with me, I'm just like, I withdraw, I go cold, I walk away. I don't ever make it worse because I'm not angry, I'm not yelling and screaming and hitting and cussing and kicking, but I'm not connecting, I'm not building a relationship. And so now people see me and experience me as a robot, as cold, as emotionless. And so now I've realized that what was adaptive at 11 is maladaptive as an adult. And so now I had to learn that vulnerability is a choice, and it's how we connect with other people. I'm like, this is uncomfortable. And now I've got to face that and learn to grow, or not, or just continue to do what I was doing. So that's just one example of going through that emotional space. You got to give me smaller questions, man. Or you got to let me pause here. I'll come up with more. Yes, I already gave you the one where having an emotionally disconnected father, basically it was, I think I learned that as a kid too, as I had to perform to be liked, to be okay. And so that was take that into business, and now I've got to perform to be okay. So the only way I can be safe or be loved is I got to perform. You know, and try to overturn that and say, no, I can be okay, I can be safe, I can be who I am, even if I'm not performing. And the other one is, can I be seen? Can I be seen for who I really am without the mask, without gray rock in it?
Can you?
Well, what am I doing right now, right?
Yeah.
So the part of that is being vulnerable, which I wouldn't do this before.
Yeah.
Honestly.
When especially talking about vulnerability, like you mentioned, that is how connections are made. Unfortunately, we were never taught that, unless you were like raised from a very young age. How would you tell someone to be vulnerable, and how would you tell someone, especially who is emotionally immature, who is taught their whole entire life to go, to never stop? Like, what is the first step you should tell someone? What's the first thing? I'm not even saying to fix the issue, to become aware of it. Because I think half the problem is not even becoming aware of it. How would you tell someone who isn't aware of it that they should become aware of it?
So there's a lot of things. I guess just speaking from my own experience, right? I don't know what's going on with anybody else. It would be, especially as a man, you probably have emotions. I had emotions. I just was not aware and refused to be aware. How did I become aware? Well, coaching was a big one. Like, actually, I would have a coach and say, Josh, what are you feeling? Got no idea. Like, no idea. You mean and she'd get out a list and say, okay, here's the chart. What are you feeling? And we'd go through, is it more in the anger category? Is it more in the sad category? Is it more in the happy category? And try to get there, right? I got an app on my phone, I think it's called How We Feel, or How You Feel. And it's like, okay, check in and say, okay, what am I feeling right now? And really trying to identify that. And you got to name it. And it's hard. It is. There's actually a word for this. Alexithymia. Alexithymia means you have emotions, but you can't express them. It's like, oh, yeah, that's exactly what I've got. It's not a diagnosable condition. It's just you can't get it out of your heart. You can't get it out. And it's actually interesting because I see my 11-year-old son does the same thing. I can tell he's feeling things that he cannot say it. Can't say it. So first step is just like going through that practice again and again. What do I feel? What do I feel? What do I feel? Trying to get as close as possible.
I bet that probably annoyed you so much, sitting with her and just trying to figure that out.
One day I said, because I told her a story of something that had happened, and she said, well, how did that make you feel? And I said, matter of fact. Like, that's not a feeling. Just matter of fact.
And this is such a real thing, and I love you talking about this, because again, not something that people talk about, especially their own experience. You said that you started acting like your dad, like in the same way, emotionally checking out, and then now you see these things in your heart, but then seeing that in your son. What does that do to your heart? What is that? How does that hit you?
Yeah. Let me tell you another story about how this actually shows up in life. Did I tell you the story about the airport? I'll tell you that story in a minute. So, as I become more emotionally aware of how I'm feeling, we're going to take the family to New York for Christmas. We've never done that before. Thought that'd be cool. So we're just about ready to leave for the airport, and my 11-year-old James, he's on the floor sick. I'm like, okay, now what am I going to do? I don't know. Maybe it'll get worse. Maybe it'll get better. Let's just go to the airport. So we get in the car, go to the airport. I get all the bags checked in. It's about 15 minutes to the time we got to go through security, and James is on the floor of the airport sick. Now what am I going to do, right? I mean, do I cancel the trip? Do I force him to get on the airplane? Is he going to throw up? Do I split the family? Do I stay home? I got the whole itinerary. Do I need my wife stay home? She's not going to like that. All my kids are looking at me. My wife's looking at me. My mom's looking at me. What are we going to do, Josh? I don't know. So I finally just said, James, come sit by me. So took him somewhere else, and I just started talking to him. I slowed my speaking down, lowered my voice, and just talked to him and connected with him and shared with him what my hopes were for the trip and how I was going to have a whole week off. I wanted to connect with him. I wanted to see some cool things with the family. And at one point, there was tears coming out of my eyes, and I told him I loved him, and my voice cracked. And he looked up at me, and just like that, his stomachache went away. He picked up 2 bags and hauled them through security, and off we went. It turned out that he was extremely anxious because I hadn't briefed him on the trip when he needs to be told like 2 weeks in advance for something like this. I hadn't told him where we're going, what we were doing, and he was freaked out because New York City was going to be super busy during Christmas, and he was just like anxiety-ridden. And I thought he had the flu or something. It wasn't. He was completely emotionally just a ball of nerves. And once I connected with him, it's like, what I tell you, the closest thing I've seen to a miracle, like just popped out of it, and away he went. It was the craziest thing. And so it's been experiences like that I've seen the power of emotions and what they're actually doing in us if we would stop and pay attention.
You made a comment to me a little bit ago, how emotions are the messenger to what we need. And as far as you want to take that, that's not something we're told. That's not something we were even allowed to express. And especially with emotions, like we don't know how to sit with them. And being someone, and I'm not saying you've achieved or made it or like I'm just coming from a person who does have a lot more life experience. How do we allow, or not quote unquote identify emotions properly, but like how do we sit with them correctly? How do we actually, or how do we sit there, identify what we're feeling, and then like take that and like articulate it to what we genuinely need?
You're asking a guy who doesn't know anything, man. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm just figuring this stuff out. So the thing he's talking about is, I said, emotions are the messenger, needs are the message. I learned that 4 weeks ago. So, okay. I mean,
No, I was going to say, but most of us will go a lifetime not hearing
sure.
it, you know?
So anyway, that was profound for me, though, because, okay, okay, let me break that down. So emotions are the messenger, needs are the message. So an easy way to think about that is, if I feel hungry, what's my need? Food. If I feel tired, what's my need? Sleep, right? If I feel lonely, what's my need? Connection, right? If I feel afraid, what's my need? Safety, right? So, I mean, you can kind of, we'll go down all those emotions, and it, sometimes it's not obvious what you need, but here's the ironic part. I didn't think I had any needs. Like, I literally thought that. I literally said that to somebody a year ago, and she just Like, it freaked her out. I was like, what do you mean you don't have any needs? I literally said, I don't think I have any needs. Because as a business owner, as a dad, as a father, it's like, no. It's like, I got stuff to do. I take care of everybody else. And, yeah, I don't need anything.
That makes you become super numb.
Oh, 100%.
How do you, and you recognized that a year ago, or when you took a step back?
Yeah.
You recognized what that did to your heart. Sometimes people never recognize that. But what would you wish you would have told someone that you would never even get to that place? What would you wish that your dad would have told you? Be like, Josh, this is how you avoid doing that to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think, the thing that I'm now talking to my kids, because I'm having these conversations with them in real time, in live, as I'm learning this stuff. But it's understanding the needs, the legitimate needs that humans have, that those are good things, right? God-given things. That, interestingly, we can often fill ourselves, but we can also ask other people to fill them. Helping them understand the emotions connected to those needs, but then also what he was talking about is those emotions I found in myself, and I think this is somewhat common, that will numb those emotions because we don't like them. They feel uncomfortable. And I've also, this is another interesting thing I've learned. Emotions aren't good or bad. They're comfortable or uncomfortable, pleasant or unpleasant. Like, every emotion has a good use, even guilt, shame, anger. Anger was an interesting one, that often I feel anger when a value or a boundary is violated. It's like, oh, that's interesting. So when I'm mad, I can take that and say, what just happened there? I don't have to act on it. I don't have to punch a wall, right? But I can go learn for myself something. That message is telling me something. It's like a check engine light on in my car. Don't put a piece of black tape over it. Like, listen to that check engine light. It's telling me something. And so seeing all my emotions as a friend, as a gift. And so the numbing piece comes in where I think, people use different things, but my 4 were, I would numb using food, porn, work, and video. Those are my 4. So if I'm dysregulated, that's what I'm going to turn to. So I don't have to feel, which is so stupid because now I don't know what the needs are. And so this whole chain, right? Numb, don't feel emotions, don't know what my needs are, don't feel them. And often then, when my needs aren't being met, I'm angry, I'm frustrated. And then what happens with connection with my wife or my kids or my business partner or my employees? They feel Josh is just an angry man. That's how they experience me. So learning that whole trail of the whole chain of events, essentially.
Do you think that happened because you went go, 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 and you didn't allow yourself to just stop and rest and just be? Would you say that?
Yes, that's a big one. So one is I was just unaware, right? Didn't have the training, didn't have the knowledge, didn't have the tools. But certainly, in order to do what I'm doing now, I had to slow down, had to pause, had to be present. That was the other thing. I was living so far in the future, right? In our business, it's 10 years in the future. That's all we ever do. Or you live in the past, which is regret, shame, guilt, but never living in the present right here, right now. And that's where connection happens. That's where relationships are built. I didn't know that.
At the present is the most important place to be. A numbing factor that most people use, and the thing that all 4 of those that you mentioned, such a real thing. And that's like, I know we did also talk about this, but how like people oftentimes shame others for using things that they've coped with, like what they used to cope with, and we've become like this sacrilegious, or like we look down upon, or what's it like, self-righteous almost, like how judgmental, how could you upon certain things and certain coping mechanisms. But what do you think was that initial wound that made you want to start numbing yourself? Would you I'm not trying to like use examples, but like, why do you think you needed to? Or is this because you did mention like it was the only thing you knew, like you weren't taught? It's like, did you feel like you needed to use those mechanisms to escape something, or you just genuinely just didn't know how to feel?
Well, I think one of them was just being, when something's uncomfortable, we all try to escape that. At least I do, right? If it's hot, I go in the air conditioner. If it's cold, I put a sweater on, right? That's what I'm doing. So if we're not being present and being aware of my emotions and what's going on, I'm just going to go to the thing that takes that ugly feeling away, right? So it could be alcohol, it could be drugs, it could be spending, it could be gambling, it could be anything that I'm using to not have to feel.
Yeah.
But what I noticed was when I stopped using all those things, because I did, I quit using porn, I stopped watching the news. Like literally stop watching. I know there's a war on in Iran, but that's about all I know right now. Largely stopped watching videos. Work, right? I took a break from work. Now that's not normal. That's not natural. You can't just do that, right? But suddenly I could feel so much more when all that, the numbing was gone. That was definitely part of it. Plus all the work I was doing to really pay attention to it.
What did you start feeling?
Yeah, the whole range of emotions. So I would notice when I'm frustrated, when I'm angry, when I'm grief. Grief was a brand new one for me. Like, what does grief feel like? Right? Like in being grateful for grief. Or, impatience, embarrassment, right? You start going through and you can have a very narrow emotional range, or you can have a big emotional range, right? From on the high ends to the low ends, and learning to experience all of them. And I'm still learning, man. I'm still like trying to expand that and paying attention to it. But I think the other thing I noticed with it was I would be super uncomfortable in uncomfortable situations. So if somebody died, for example, I'd have a hard time saying, hey, I'm sorry for your loss. Like even that was hard for me to say because it was just an uncomfortable space. Or now I can go into that space and just exist, just be present with those folks. And I don't have to fix anything. I don't have to say anything to try to alleviate their pain. I can just be there and just be a human.
I was going to say, it is so difficult trying to cram like a life in such a short period of time. I want to just, for those of us who don't really like, can you articulate in the most simple way possible what emotional intelligence is? Because
Sure.
I feel like we did kind of like jump the gun and we started talking a lot about emotions because it's like my brain sometimes the way it works is just like, okay, I don't have a lot of time. Like, what do we have to hit? Like, where do we have to go? So it's like, let's just take a step back really quickly. What is emotional intelligence?
So how I've heard it explained is I would put it on 4 pillars. So one is I have to be aware of my own emotions. I have to be able to know what they are. Second is I have to be able to regulate them. So that means that I don't just spin off into anger or spin off into happiness or whatever. I have to be able to see them, recognize them, and then regulate. Ask me the question on regulation here in a minute, okay? Remind me. Okay. The third pillar is once I can recognize my own emotions, now I can recognize it in other people. If I'm completely self-aware, I don't know what anybody else is feeling. Like I'm completely disconnected from that. So self-awareness, self-regulation, other awareness, and then other regulation. What I did with my son was regulating his emotions, right? I understood my anxiety. I could feel it in him, and then I could co-regulate with him. Now we're actually working together to regulate our emotions. And then what do I need? He needed certainty. He needed an explanation, right? Once he got that, boom, we're off to the races. That's how I'd explain it. I think if you start thinking about, you can Google this, but look up like emotional immaturity. It'd be things like stonewalling, defensiveness. Oh, that's a big one, right? My wife would say, hey, you did X, Y, and Z, and I would prove to her why that was not true. And I could give her receipts. And then tomorrow I'd come back and say, oh, I remembered some more of why that's wrong. Horrible, absolutely horrible, right? Because I'm not paying attention. I'm not listening. I'm just trying to defend myself because I feel the discomfort of somebody saying, hey, Josh, you did something wrong. Okay, that's your opinion, right? Can I just receive that? Can I just sit with that for a minute and just allow it to be? I don't have to defend anything.
This is a very difficult question, and you can answer it to the best of your abilities. After you figured all of this out, of like, I'm like checked out of my marriage because I don't know how to deal with emotions. I started a business how did you deal with yourself? Like when you got hit with this reality of everything that you quote unquote did wrong for the last however many years, how did you see yourself? Like that first look in the mirror,
Yeah.
that aha moment.
Yeah.
How'd you look at yourself?
Yes, there's a lot of guilt and shame. So, I've learned that guilt is, something I've done. Shame is that I'm bad, like I'm broken. And I realized really quickly that it's useful to get us moving. It's not helpful if I'm sitting in it. Because the past, I can't get the past back. So guilt and shame is in the past. I can't undo anything I've done. I can't get a redo, right? It's done, it's over. Can't do it. So I got to accept the past, forgive myself, learn the lesson, and live in the present. Right? And in the future, too, I don't have the future. Like, I'm not guaranteed to walk out of here and not get hit by a car, right? I have no guarantee of the future. So that's where anxiety lives. I don't have the future. I don't have the past. All I've got is right now, right here, this moment with you guys and gals. That's it. And just be here. And that's where life is lived. And every one of us, that's all we have. That's all we'll ever have. Is this moment. That's it.
A lot of us in this room are single, except for one couple right over there. But how was your marriage like before this process? And I want the honest truth of how was your marriage before? How before even I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, you said a few snippets here and there, but then how did your marriage change after you because before you answer that question, because I want to make a quick statement that not being a person who doesn't actually know how to regulate quote unquote emotion or recognize how you're feeling, you're just selfish. Because you're not actually giving yourself over to people around you. Because you made that statement. You're like, I can't connect to my wife. I can't connect to my kids. I can't connect to my employees. I can't connect to my business owners. So you pushing emotions and numbing yourself, you're actually not just doing yourself a disservice. You're doing everyone around you a disservice. You're not being yourself. You're not being authentic. You can't even have an authentic relationship with the Lord. And the list just goes downhill. So it's just I just want to make that that statement that it's kind of it's the easy way out. Would you agree with that? Or is that a harsh thing to say?
Yeah, it's interesting you say this because I really want to swear right now. I'll keep it clean, but otherwise, I got a swear word that's bubbling up.
I love the honesty.
Because I hate that word, selfish, because I felt like I was the opposite of selfish, right? I'm giving all the time for everybody. So it felt, but I think you're right in the sense of that's not what people want. Right? They want to be connected with me. They want to know the real me, not this curated masked version, the gray rock version. So, yeah, in many ways it is, but it's not obvious that it's selfish because it looks so self-sacrificial. Does that make sense? It's upside down.
Yeah. No, it's again going back to you're justifying your actions with good action.
So there's a book called No More Mr. Nice Guy. Okay, he talks about this very concept, where nice guys go out and they do things for people, but it's always with a covert contract that they do something to get something in return. But they never say that. So they're not nice at all. They're really bad, right? Because they're doing these things to get something coming back, rather than just doing it out of the fullness of their heart and saying, I want nothing back. I'm going to give it to you, and I don't care if there's nothing coming back. Yeah. But nice guys are they're not honest. At least how the book defines it, okay? So I'm not saying don't be nice.
Yeah, I do think, Can you, going back to that question, I was going to say, I do agree with you too, with the statement of what you were saying, because it's the word selfish is a harsh thing to say, but it's like God always created us and intended us for connection. That's how it was in the very beginning. He didn't need a whole bunch of people to sit there and worship him. He's got angels to do that. He created us in his image and likeness. And what did the first thing he do with Adam and Eve? Yeah, he said, be fruitful, multiply, like work the field. But he's like, he met with him in the garden every single day in the cool of the day. So it's just like, to do things for God without walking with God and with that connection is a wrong order. It's like not what it was originally intended with. And especially with the comment in John 17, verse 3, like, this is eternal life, that they know you. So like eternal life isn't a destination, it's knowing God. So it's like, and the reason I make that statement, and it is a harsh statement, is because like we are humans that love connection, need connection, want connection with God and with people. It is not good for man to be alone. I remember, in pivoting that to your marriage, how was your connection with your wife before? How did you see her? How does she see you? Because, and this is like advice for us too. Like this is stuff I want to write down too, because, like you even mentioned like in the very beginning of this talk that like your wife was extremely bitter towards you because of the decisions that you made for your family early on. It's like, how did you see that? How did you do that? And moving on, how did you change that and going forward?
Yeah, so that's a work in progress. So I think, every relationship's going to be different. Our patterns were avoidant. We would just, if she came at me with something, I would just gray rock, walk away, basically. Wouldn't fight, right? Didn't see that there was connection to be had in that conflict. And she would also do the same thing. So we had two people that were basically walking away from each other rather than actually having healthy conflict. Well, then that just builds up resentment over time. And I didn't realize how much, I don't know if this is a woman thing either, maybe it might be, but I think this is, I'll explain this for a minute. Memories are actually, how we remember things is through emotion. So if we have a strong emotion attached to something, when we experience that, we can actually remember something way better, where if we don't have an emotion attached to it, we hardly remember it. And so, especially women being more connected emotionally, like they'll have an emotion to a thing. I'll give you an example, which is a crazy example. But anyway, when she feels that emotion, it's like it happened yesterday. Like that's the experience in her body, which is wild for me, right? It happened 22 years ago, and yet she can bring it into the present, and it's right there. So check this out. So I'm student teaching in hall, volunteer EMT, ambulance shed is 1 block away. And I got an agreement with the staff or the admin that I could be on call while I'm student teaching, which is awesome. But so my pager goes off and little boy not breathing. So I didn't even get in my car. I ran the block to the ambulance shed, jumped in time. We get to the scene. 3-year-old boy, completely blue. Like he's not breathing, heart stopped. Put the AED on, hit the analyze button, no shock advised. F. Pumping air into his lungs, chest compressions, on the cot, down the road we go. Halfway to Sioux Center Hospital, we're probably doing 80, 85 miles an hour down the road. We have to stop the rig, hit analyze again, because you can't analyze while you're driving. Suddenly, shock advised. Boom, we hit the button, jumps, and he goes from blue to pink. And we're still breathing for him, right? Bag valve mask. Get to the hospital, intubate him. He survives, no brain damage. I don't know how that happened. And 2 weeks later, I was in the park in Hall, and I saw that little kid playing in the swings. It's like, you don't know who I am, but I know who you are. It was like the most awesome feeling in the world. Okay? That's my experience, and I can remember that to this day, and I can feel the emotion of that day. It's like nothing else compares, like to be part of somebody's life in that way. I told that story to my wife, and you know what her response was? Bitterness. Because I would run out of the house when the pager went off, wake her and the kids up, because I'm going to be the hero, and she now has to deal with kids that are awake and whatever. So she's experiencing it as a negative. I'm experiencing it as a positive. And I'm not aware of that for 15 years.
And then you have to live with that too. Like you have to live in that tension.
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of lessons coming out of that. But anyway.
Honestly, I just want to even hear like that story to me is mind blowing.
And please, don't get me wrong. I'm not dissing my wife here, right?
No,
I'm like
100%.
validating, like that's how she experienced that. It was a struggle for her, right? Because I would come home late. I'm on call for 12 hours a night. I can't go anywhere. If I can't go anywhere, she can't go anywhere because I can't stay with the kids alone, so she can't leave the house. So when I'm on call, she's on call. And she gets nothing out of it, right? I'm getting the camaraderie of the EMT squad. I'm getting the adrenaline rush. I'm getting the hero's praise. And she's just stuck at home with the kids. And I'm like, hey, this is awesome. Selfish?
Ooh, that is good. Is that, I don't know. Did that ever get brought up? Like, did that ever change? Did that ever get discussed?
Yeah, recently. Yeah.
Did it get resolved?
Well, how do you resolve something that's in the past?
Gotta bring it up. You gotta relive it, basically.
Yeah. So here's what I learned. It took me a while. I have to own it, but I have to own it clean. Okay, so what I mean by own it clean, I would say things like, yeah, I'm sorry that happened, but I wasn't aware. Or, but I didn't have the tools. Or, but I didn't mean to hurt you. Ugh. That does not land, right? I have to own it clean means I'm sorry I hurt you. And shut up. Just own it clean. No explanation. No, I didn't know. No, I didn't intend to. Just, I'm sorry I hurt you. That's it. And that lands. And it doesn't mean that I have to agree with her interpretation of it. I can just acknowledge that I hurt you. And that'd be okay. And when I do that, her nervous system will receive that. And she's told me that, like what she uses is her anger towards me metabolizes. It goes through. It's like, oh, you saw me, you heard me. Thank you. Right? You finally see me.
I was gonna say, I don't want. I know we don't have a lot more time left, and I know there's so much more you can say. I just would love for you to take and share some of the most life pivotal lessons that you've learned, and if you can, not even just sum it down, but like share your heart on some of the things that you're extremely passionate about, and lessons that you taught, you learned. And it can be in any sort of degree, any sort of way. If you would want to teach anyone on anything and any lesson that you want us to hold on to, this because like I'm not wrapping up quite yet, but I just want you to just share life pivotal things that you taught. Because I like for example, like the Arbinger thing was huge for our company, but you don't have to go into that. Yeah, that was good. But what were some lessons that you want us to hold on to, grab onto, like?
You should have prepped me on that one.
I'm so sorry. That literally just came to me in the dome probably approximately 90 seconds ago.
As fast as I can think of them here. Yeah, so I guess from the top, I would say be present is probably a key component. Be present. Gratitude is another one. Like gratitude seems to rewire our brain. Like just speaking, what am I grateful for each day? Like it's a practice I do. What is the 3 Ds? Defend, deny, and deflect. Don't do that. So that's another big one I learned. So we talked about it already. Defending is incredibly hard on a relationship. Guys, I mean, this is my modus operandi. Like when she would say something, I'd be like, it's not true. It's not important. It's just not. Like, just hear what she's saying. Hear her emotion. Validate that emotion. It's okay, right? Oftentimes she's not even attacking me. She just wants to be heard. I don't know how this would show up for you guys, but for me, from a Christian background, this is a piece I never heard much about. Let me share this with you. It was never talked about, but I think it's important, is self-love, self-forgiveness, self-compassion. Like, forgiving myself was something we never talked about that. And, certainly, being forgiven by Christ, by God, maybe asking for forgiveness from your brother if you hurt him or something, but never about forgiving myself and how that is important. And how I've come to grips with that is, would I treat Eddie the way I treat myself? Would I talk to Eddie the way I talk to myself? The inner critic that goes around my head and tells me how stupid I am and how I've messed this up and how I've made this mistake and how I should have known better. Would I talk to any one of you the way I talk to myself? No. So why do I do it? And if I'm called to forgive Eddie for his trespassing against me, am I not called to forgive myself for the things I've done? Yes, I have to ask you for forgiveness and God forgiveness. Get that. But again, like I said, I don't know if you guys caught it. When I think about the past, and I've made mistakes in the past, I got to learn the lesson, forgive myself, and move on, and do that quick. So it's every day, right? I cut somebody off in traffic, like, ugh, you dummy. What was the lesson? Forgive myself, move on. I can't get that back. Who's watched We Were Soldiers? Anybody? We Were Soldiers, Mel Gibson? No? It's a book as well, so you can read the book. The image is, Vietnam War, they're surrounded by enemy, and the guy is bringing in aircraft to drop napalm bombs, and he gets too close to the U.S. soldiers, and he ends up lighting a whole bunch of U.S. soldiers on fire, and he is devastated, right? And the character, the Hal Moore character, says, "You forget about that one. You're keeping us alive out here. Keep bringing them in." And this guy who had just napalmed his own guys had to forget about that miss, right? And keep doing his job. And so I think about that. No matter how bad it is, I have to learn the lesson, right? What did I do wrong on dropping that bomb? Forgive myself and drop the next one.
I have so many questions with that I know it can just go into a completely other rabbit trail. But that is biblical too, like when we talk about righteous man falls 7 times, gets up 8, but it's just like, even like Hebrews 12 constantly always says, like, hey, lay aside every weight in sin, like lay it aside and fix your eyes on Jesus, the founder and the perfecter of your faith. What was like, what really briefly, like, what was your relationship with God like in the midst of all of this? And I know that's a very, very broad, and I just want us to kind of get like, and again, I make this disclaimer all the time. It is so difficult to explain someone's life in such a short period of time. It is so difficult. So that's why, like, we're really just hitting on the life pivotal things, mistakes, things that we should look out from. But, like, would you say you had a real authentic relationship with Jesus in the midst of all of this, even though you grew up in a Christian family, Christian background? Like, would you say you did, even in the midst of, like, numbing yourself, hiding, doing all of that? How would you describe that?
Yeah, I would say up to age 18, 19, I didn't. But after that, I did. And so I think it comes and goes. It ebbs and flows. Walk away, come back, fall away, repent. So a lot of that. And I can even remember, like, as I came to some of these realizations, this one really strikes me just probably, 10, 12 months ago, sitting in church, and the sermon was on, you have left your first love. And I felt that intensely, right? Both the first love in Revelations, first love of Jesus, first love of my wife, my kids, and just you left your first love, therefore repent. So yeah, he's faithful.
I don't want to, I was going to say, I want to just wrap up here shortly. I want to end off with this last question. And I say this question all the time. But if you, I know you kind of explained it with a lesson, and the reason I don't prep people with this question, because you said, I don't like prepping with questions, because I like asking questions that come up right away, because I know that's deeply embedded in a person. Because if you prep it, you have time 100%. I get it. But like a lot of times when you don't prep, it's just like the thing that's on your heart. It's the freshest, it's the thing that's like wired into you. And it's just like, it comes out, because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And that's kind of the whole entire vision. But if you can leave us with a last piece of advice, last piece of things that you want us to hold on to, if you don't want us to remember anything from today and you want us to hold on to one last thing that you would want to change the trajectory of our lives, that could be a mistake you did that you wish that we don't do. It could be anything. But if you want to leave us with one last piece of thing, what would you tell us? So you have time to like explain it. Like it doesn't have to like end in the next 2 minutes. I just want to just make a disclaimer. It could be.
It's for myself. Don't know where you're at. I would say slow down. Somebody said that to me, and it just infuriated me. It's like, I don't go slow for anything, right? I fly airplanes, I drive motorcycles, I like a fast car, and I work my tail off. It's like, we don't go slow. No time to go slow. But what I realized over time was there's a couple different ways to think about that. Think about if I'm driving super fast on the highway, what am I missing? There's so much, right? Versus walking down the road. Like I'm not seeing the flowers, I'm not seeing the birds, I'm not seeing the butterflies, I'm not seeing the people. Like I'm just, it's a blur. So that's one thing, slow down. There's just so much more to see. Second thing for slow down, though, is think about water skiing, right? Water skiing is a blast, but we're going fast across the surface of the water. It's fun. It's great. It's good. There's nothing wrong with water skiing. However, let me back up. The conscious is like 5%. Our subconscious is like 95%. So if we want to get into the subconscious, like where the emotions are and all that kind of good stuff, we got to slow down to sink beneath the water. So water ski, it's fun, right? But we got to slow down, go beneath the surface. All right, and you can think about that with God's word as well. Relationships, like if you want to go deep, you got to go slow. Which I don't like going slow, and it's hard.
And was that something that you learned recently too?
Yeah, that goes along with being present, right? Like going fast, I'm thinking 10 years in advance. That's going fast. Being present is right now, what am I experiencing?
I was going to say that's how the Lord speaks to us too. Still small voice. Exactly. I was going to say that's the best piece of I was one of the best pieces of advice I was told a few years ago. Rest and stillness is productive. A true productiveness is formed by, and the way someone explained it to me, I'm sorry, I don't want to take too much time, but I just want to like emphasize this. Person who is still and then the Lord speaks gets the grace to do what he wants to do than a person who's going to try to earn their way through it. Because we like to do this quick, fast, go, and we can get there. And it's going to take us so long. But the person who sits, waits, is still, the Lord speaks, gives the grace, will do what some people take a lifetime to do in months. And I got told that at a very young age. And the fact that you said that too, I think it's just a fascinating reminder of like, sometimes stillness and being and slowing down is the best thing that you can do to your heart, to your mind, to in any sort of degree. That's what life is all about. Seeing people, connections, the flowers, the sunsets. I remember I heard a quote, or not a quote. I was listening to this old guy talk one time, and he says, "You know your life has passed you by when you can count the sunsets you have left." And I was like, "Dang!" Like, the dude lived his whole entire life. He's like, "The only thing I look forward to is sunsets because I can count them down. I know I have a few left," and it's just like, it would be a shame not to have a life full of memories.
Yes, that's interesting, because this actually bugged me when I was young too. Because people would say when I was, maybe 25, 26, they, "Oh, really enjoy your kids." I'm like, dude, I got work to do. I got no time to enjoy my kids, right? What does that even mean? I didn't get it, right? And I don't want to be that guy, just because there's realities of life that have to happen. But I think we can be busy and be present. That's the piece we've got to. I got to. Because I still got to work, right? So, but how can I be present in my work? And be where my feet are? But that's why I got to put this stupid thing down, right? Because I could be in the room but not be there. Yeah. Like I'm there physically, but I'm not there.
I think that's really good because you could be still, but you could be also lazy. So,
yeah. Can I give you another quick one?
Dude, absolutely.
So I mentioned we went to New York. Previously, like 7 months previously, I took the kids to Washington, D.C. And during the D.C. trip, I really irritated the family because I thought the mission was see a bunch of cool things. That wasn't the mission. I didn't know that. The mission was connect with your family while seeing some cool things. I switched that on the New York trip. But it comes down to my mindset. Like I could do the trip in either way. I can do the trip in disconnection way, or I can do the trip in a connecting way. I can work in both ways too. So slow down even in our work. Doesn't mean go slow. I mean, I still got to do stuff, right? But can I be present while I'm doing it and enjoy it? Like I get to do it. Now, dude, I've just had this, I haven't got my taxes done. Right? So I got to do my taxes. And so I said, no, you get to do your taxes. I'm like, I get to do my taxes. Like even just reframing it, I get to do my taxes.
Huge mental shift. I love that. Anything else you want to share?
I'm good.
You think you got it?
I think we did it.
I was going to say, I have such a great privilege of just being around Josh. Sometimes when you hear him speak, like he's the type of person, like you're going to meditate on a lot of things that he says. And I was going to say he actually gave me a huge piece of advice when it comes to leadership that actually I share and I say a lot. I was going to say, where you guys got nowhere better to be. You guys are going to hang out here anyways. I actually want to share this piece of advice because this made my outlook on leadership change. I came up to you one time and I was very frustrated with the performance of some of my workers, and I asked you this dumb question. I'm like, not dumb question, but I asked you a question. I was like, is it true that a team is only as weak as its weakest member? And you look at me and you go, well, who's the weakest member? And I was like, the least performing member. And he's like, false. It's the leader. And I look at him and I'm just like, because he's not the one carrying the log. And I'm just like, dang, I am the weakest because I'm not the one actually doing the work. I'm not the one actually doing the heavy lifting. And that changed my whole perspective on leadership, that it's not the weakest person is the least performing person. It's who they're following. It's who's leading. It's who's doing that. And the weight of that. It's like I have the weight of the log without carrying the log. Which...
Was that when we were talking about like the president? Like he's got all this power, and yet he gets the president's daily brief of all the people that are trying to kill us, and he can't say a word.
Yeah.
He's got to carry that.
Yeah.
And that's not a Trump thing. That's just a president thing.
Yeah. Awesome.
So he's strong and weak at the same time.
That's a very well way to put it. All right, guys. I don't want to take too much more of your time, but thank you guys for coming. Thank you, Josh, for coming. Can we give him a round of applause, guys? Thank you.
Thank you.
I was gonna say, I feel like you can digest this for a really long time, and we shared a lot today, and I really, really wanted to talk about like emotional intelligence. And next week we're gonna have an open discussion next Tuesday, and we're gonna be talking not even just about quote unquote emotional intelligence, but what does the Bible say about it, and like really kind of go into that. But I want to just quickly end off in prayer, and then we will just say a few announcements, and then go from there. God, we thank you. We honor you. We just ask that you would just remind us everything that was said today, that you would just allow your truth to penetrate our hearts. God, I ask that you would just give each and every single person in this room an awareness, not even just of your presence, but like an awareness of the things that are in our heart. So we just ask that you would search our hearts, know our ways, and just lead us and purify us, and just allow us to bear your image and to shine your light properly. God, I ask that you would challenge each and every one of us to grow, to learn. And yeah, I just bless each and every person here. God, be with them. Reveal yourself to them. We love you. We honor you. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.